Mr. Flanagan, Mr. Crown, are we ready to begin?
Yes, sir. We are ready.
Okay. Let's do it.
This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everybody. The time is 10 o'clock. I call the October 13th, 2022 Planning Board meeting to order. We have the following board members with us. We have Vice Chair Bailey, and we have Commissioner Giraldo, and I'm Chair Shapiro. Before we move on to the business at hand, I just want to take a minute to send out our warm thoughts to Commissioner Dorner, who's dealing with family medical issues. I understand everything went well, but I want him to know that you were very much in our thoughts and our prayers. I'm glad to hear that things are going well for your daughter. Yeah, so we wish you well. And Ms. Vice Chair Bailey, anything else that you want to add? You're on mute.
Thank you very much. But I just wanted him to know and the public to know that we're wishing him well.
Good. Thank you very much, Chair. So moving on to the business at hand, please note that the deadline for all participant pre-registration and for submission of materials and exhibits was 12 noon the Tuesday before this planning board meeting, which is noted on the screen before you. Registered speakers may join the meeting with the link provided in the email provided by the planning board office, or may listen by phone by utilizing the call-in number provided in the email. And of course, anyone can tune in to watch the planning board meeting via live stream. If you wish to speak or become a person of record, you may use our online web form, which you'll see noted on the screen right here before you. In addition to the commissioners, we are joined by Planning Director Checkley. We have our counsel, David Warner. I believe we have Delisa Coleman as well, our Associate General Counsel. I'm not sure. Jessica Jones, our Planning Board Administrator. Marie Proctor, who is our Senior Technical Hearing Writer. And James Hunt, Division Chief, Development Review Division. And Mr. Flanagan and Mr. Crown are helping us with technical issues behind the scenes, and we thank them both as always. So we are going to go through the order of cases in the order as listed, and we're going to begin with item number 2, which is our first administrative agenda item, which is a motion to approve the draft minutes of October 6th, 2022. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve, sir.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the draft minutes of October 6th, 2022. Any discussion on the motion? I'll call the roll. Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
Vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 3-0. Our next item is item 3C. This is the fiscal year 24 proposed budget. This is a presentation. And I will turn it over to Mr. Kroll, who will take it away. Mr. Kroll, if you could let us know, too, what is the nature of any action that you want us to take on this.
Thank you very much. And if the whoever's running the screen can hold that for a few minutes until it's appropriate, we'll bring that up at appropriate time. Few opening remarks, if I might. The adopted budget first of all, you should all have a packet of about 32 pages. And we'll refer to those as we go through as the departmental representatives go through their presentations. Couple things to note. Similar to this current year, 23, in 22, the adopted budget that's referenced refers to the adopted adjusted budget. It was adjusted by the late distribution of the salary marker. As you recall, the union negotiations had not completed by the time the budget was adopted in June. So the budget as published as the adopted budget did not include that distribution. It has now, and for comparison's sake, for appropriate comparison's sake, we've used the adjusted budget for comparison. The base personnel budgets may seem high as they reflect the annualization of the negotiated compensation increases for this year. The pension at this time is flat. This will undoubtedly change in the November presentation after receipt of this year's actuarial valuation. At that same time, the OPEB valuation will also be in hand and be reflected in the November presentations. One thing you won't hear about today, but you should be aware of, is the recent state expansion of FLMA coverage. We're reviewing this to determine if it will have an impact to the 24 budget, and you may see it presented in November. With that, if there are no beginning questions, we'll move on to the departmental budgets, and the first one up is the Commissioner's Office on page 1 of your packet.
Thank you very much, John. Good morning, Chair Shapiro and fellow commissioners. For the record, my name is Robert Clark, and I'm a budget coordinator in the Planning Board office. On page 1, you'll see that for fiscal year 24, the Prince George's County Planning Board office is proposing a budget which increases expenditures only $33,960, just under 1% above the fiscal year 23 approved budget. Most of this increase does originate in the personal services classification and results from both merit and COLA increases. As usual, also per our agreement with the county, the lease for fourth floor office space will increase 3%. A portion of the CAB rent will be $183,208 of the $1.095 we pay to the county on an annual basis. All of our other personnel classifications will remain at 2023 levels. On page 2, we have included explanations of all variances by major object. And lastly, we've included the history of the project charges over the years, totaling now $1.287 million that's payable to the county council. That payment, along with our rent, comprises almost 40% of our total budget. That's my presentation. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Clark?
I have none.
No questions. Thank you so very much for the presentation.
Thank
And
you.
Mr. Carl, I'll turn it back over to you.
Moving on, we'll have the Planning Department on page 4 of your packet.
Thank you, Director Chetley.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I'm not seeing it. Is anyone seeing it?
I'm not seeing it.
The packet is not up in front. It's not on screen.
Okay. Give me a second, please. I thought it was going to be on the screen.
Can you see it now?
I'm Andre. I'm here. I can proceed.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. I'm John. Good morning, Chairman Shapiro, Vice Chair Bailey, and Commissioner Giraldo. For the record, I'm Terry Johnson, the budget manager for the Prince George's Planning Department. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. As John stated, I'll be speaking from the packet you have before you today. My pages start on page 4 through page 8 of your packet. I will be brief this morning, and we're not really delve too much into the numbers as we're really in the thick of developing the final proposed work program and the numbers for our budget. But when we come back before you on November the 17th, these numbers will be fine-tuned, as well as our complete FY24 work program. But to start, if you go to page circle 5 of your packet, I've discussed that our budget will be built around the more services that the planning department provides to the county. This includes providing countywide and small area land use planning for the county, providing development review, analysis, and evaluation of land use and development proposals, as well as other development review activities for the county, and being stewards of public information for all things planning and zoning related, as well as providing data management services. We are responsible for maintaining and managing the county's geographic information system. I want to go over the chart that was included in our packet on circle page 6. And once again, I'm not going to really focus too much on numbers, as these will change over the next couple of weeks. However, the basis for the areas of increase and decrease to our budget are pretty much spot on. So if we go to, I believe it's circle page 6, give me one second here. You will note that the planning department's base budget is a little bit over 46 million. We're showing an increase to salaries and benefits of roughly about $412,735. And this is primarily based off of increases to medical insurance, as well as salary increases that are a result of upgrading several positions in the planning department to higher grades, either through reclass or by just upgrading positions just to meet the department's work program needs. Now, these increases are somewhat offset by a decrease in personnel costs due to us increasing our budgeted lapse for FY24. And we're increasing that by roughly about $300,000 at this time. If you go down the chart where we talk about proposed changes to our budget, you will note that we're going to be proposing a $20,000 increase to upgrade PCs within the planning department, primarily within our GIS section, but for other staff as well. Our proposed professional services budget will decrease significantly in both community planning, countywide planning, and within our information management division. And this is primarily due to several consultant-heavy projects that we've had included in our budget for the past 2 years, either having been already been encumbered with prior year dollars, and we just don't anticipate needing as much as we roll forward into FY24. I'll also point out that our management services division's consultant budget will reflect a $75,000 decrease due to one-time consultant funding that was needed in the current year to assist with updating our web application services. I will point out also that for FY24, we will be proposing several new work programs that will come on board. This will include doing a functional master plan for green infrastructure for the county. Also includes, give me 1 second, as my papers are a little mixed up here. It includes also looking at the, I apologize, you all. My papers got screwed up here.
Take your time, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, give me 1 second.
Mr. Johnson, if we can advance the slide to circle page number 8, I think that will provide you with the information about the new programs and projects.
Yes, most definitely. Thank you. Okay, here we go. So we'll be bringing on board doing a missing middle housing pattern book. This was a project that was included in our FY22 work program. We had put this project out for bid, and we just could not negotiate a good price for this project, so it was put off, and now we're bringing it back on board for FY24. The community planning division will start a new program that we're calling placemaking around town. We'll be able to provide a whole lot more information on that when we come back to you in November. We'll be updating the uniform standards for mandatory referral review, as well as implementing the master plan of transportation and the transportation review guidelines that we anticipate being completed this fiscal year. Not listed on here, a couple of other work programs. We'll be looking at the military, doing a military installation overlay zone, sectional map amendment around Joint Base Andrews, as well as looking at doing a Suitland area sector plan and SMA. With that, I will close out my presentation. We will be, like I said, be back before you on November the 17th to provide information on our complete work program and have all of our numbers fine-tuned at that time. So if you have any questions, I will open it up at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Again, Commissioners, as we all know, this is just a sort of a first look for us, and we'll have plenty of time to dive in with more details and more information. So are there questions for Mr. Johnson, Director of the Planning Department team? No questions? Thank you all. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
With that, our next presenter is the Department of Parks and Recreation, and the packet on page 9 begins their presentation.
Good morning, all. Tyler, Mr. Brown.
Good morning, all. It's good morning to everyone. Pleasure to be here. And Mr. Brown will present our budget to you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, all. I'm Clifton Brown, the Acting Budget Manager for the Department of Parks and Recreation. I will be providing a brief overview of the department's vision and priorities for FY24. The Prince George's County Department of Parks and Recreation provides comprehensive park and recreation programs, facilities, and services that respond to the evolving needs of the county's diverse communities. The department strives to preserve, enhance, and protect open spaces to enrich the quality of life for present and future generations in a safe and secure environment. The department is responsible for acquiring land, developing and managing park and recreation facilities, maintaining open spaces, and providing a wide array of programs, leisure activities, and services through a vast inventory of amenities. The department's programming, service delivery, and investment activities are supported by policies in the Formula 2040 Functional Master Plan for Parks, Recreation, Open Spaces, the Comprehensive Recreation Program Plan, and the Land Preservation Parks and Recreation Plan. As you are aware, the proposed FY24 operating budget for the Prince George's County Department of Parks and Recreation is required to stay within the county's spending affordability committee's recommended guidelines once adopted. The department plans its budget according to the fiscal context projected in the 6-year plan and that SAC approves. The department's challenge is to maintain existing service levels and aging infrastructure while responding to demand for increased services and expansion that the community and public officials desire. In FY24, we are employing the following strategies to develop our proposed budget. For the proposed FY24 through 29 CIP, staff will bring the proposed CIP to the Planning Board in December of 2022. The department's key CIP initiatives are: 1, investment in trails, playgrounds, and athletic fields; 2, investing in existing facilities, historic sites, art centers, aquatic facilities, and community centers and infrastructure; 3, public safety improvements, including ADA and code compliance; and 4, implement growth initiatives in approved plans and feasibility studies. The plans for renovating existing infrastructure as well as developing new facilities are based upon adopted plans and completed feasibility studies. For our operating budget, the following 6 priorities have been crafted to serve as focal points for FY24. Athletic fields. The department is committed to developing new maintenance standards for ball fields to include maintaining and upgrading the existing infrastructure supporting our diverse park and recreation program.
Let me hold on 1 second. Let's move forward to slide 10. Okay, keep going. I just want to have you talking through what we see before us. So keep going, Mr. Brown.
All right, sir. Playgrounds. The department is committed to developing playground maintenance standards. Proper routine and timely maintenance is a way of managing risk in the community's play areas, helping to protect users and demonstrating a standard of care. Trails and infrastructure maintenance. The department will place significant focus on maintenance of our paved and natural surface trails throughout the county. We will develop a comprehensive plan to make upgrades and critical repairs to the trail system, along with improving maps and signage for trail patrons. This is an area of high importance to residents. Web page upgrade. The department will continue the process of redesigning the department's website to increase engagement and improve functionality. Additionally, increasing social media outreach by utilizing new tools to connect with residents and visitors. Cultural arts. The department plans to increase the visibility of arts and cultural program offerings in the community by developing innovative arts and cultural programs and activities for teens, seniors, and youth, emphasizing the county's diverse cultures. And finally, public safety. The department remains committed to ensuring the safety of all residents and patrons when visiting and using our open spaces and facilities. Prince George's County Park Police will maintain a high focus on crime prevention and civic engagement by way of programs and collaborative community partnerships. This concludes our overview for the FY24 budget goals and strategies for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Thank you, Director Tyler. Commissioners, any questions for the Parks and Rec team?
No questions.
Not at this time.
Okay, we have no questions. I want to thank you all as well. And back to you, Mr. Kroll.
Next up is the Department of Human Resources and Management and Asantha Chang Smith. You'll find the packet begins on page 12. I'll also call your attention to a 3-page handout that was very recently forwarded to the planning board members. At some point during Asantha's words, we'll call up a page from that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kroll. For the record, I am Asantha Chang Smith, Executive Director. I wanted to just start by kind of setting the table here on what's been going on with DHRM. Since I've only been with the commission for a little less than 3 years. And since then, the scope and the volume of the work that Human Resource, DHRM, and the CIO have had to undertake has expanded significantly. And like I said, it's both the scope of what we have to do and just the sheer volume of work. So, there's like 4 areas very specifically. So first of all, there have been drastic changes in the job market, which have left us with literally hundreds of positions, open positions across the commission within a short period of time. And right now, as we read, nationally, there is some really fierce competition for talent. So that's the first thing, is with the recruitment. Secondly, although COVID, there were vaccines, the tracking of COVID and cases and making sure our workforce is safe has persisted. And quite frankly, I think because there was less of an emphasis on prevention, there has really been a little bit of an uptick in the cases and having to manage this. In addition to general variants coming out and new threats like monkeypox and all of, we don't have really a safety and health specialist to deal with the health issues. So that's the other thing, is that work now is continuing and increasing. As a consequence of the pandemic, I think we've seen a lot more social angst and civil unrest. And this has resulted in the increase of internal and external complaints to our labor relations case. Also, Americans with Disabilities Act complaints about us not being compliant. So that has been an effect of it. Fourth, we also had transferred under DHRM our supplier diversity program. And finance and legal had that before, and it was determined this year that it should go under DHRM. Since that program, and we did hire in a program manager, since that time, the scope of that work has pretty much doubled, because it now includes not just our minority, female, and disabled owned, but the counties want us to also include a small local business program. So the scope of that brand new program within DHRM has already doubled. And you'll hear from our CIO, Mazen Chile, about IT, about the increase in the threats as we now have this hybrid work environment, and also the real need for improved customer experience via our external website, especially from our customers in Prince George's County. And I will tell you, this lack of resources has really forced us to kind of limp along. We haven't had any substantial increases since the Great Recession, where there were a lot of cuts actually taken to central services. So I just wanted to say, as a certified project manager, I have first looked and talked to our team about repurposing any positions and filling all our vacancies. And we are about 95% filled. I anticipate by this winter, all our positions are going to be filled. So we have that done first and foremost. And we have looked at how we repurpose and reorganize to be more efficient. So secondly, what I did is I've worked with 2 consultants, one in IT best practices and the other in operation efficiencies. That one also, our Department of Parks and Recreation uses that same consultant. And they've assisted my team so that our requests are very streamlined. They're identifying specific skill sets in these positions, and they address either a priority of the commission or a current mismatch between existing workload and programs. We put some handouts together for you because I wanted to please, Spencer.
Hold on one sec. Everybody could mute their phones, please, their devices, who's not speaking. And I think that let that include commissioners as well, because we're getting a lot of feedback.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chair Shapiro.
Take it away.
I didn't want to, I wanted to mention this, but I wanted you also to see that dramatic increase. And so we've prepared these handouts. This is the first time CAS has put together kind of an annual report, but I didn't want it to be some boring report. So I don't know if we can pull up that infographic. We created one, no, not this one, the one you just had up before, the HR one. Yes. So it quantifies just some of the work that I'm talking about. And this is, for example, this is the one for human resource. We have one for corporate management as well, and one for IT. But here, like the first thing you see here are division highlights. So I don't know if you realize this, but we only have a team of 4 people that does all the recruitment for the whole commission. And one person right now is on long-term disability. So, we really only had 3 people up and running. This past year, they processed over 36,000 job applications. And what I mean by process is they have to review to see if people meet minimum qualifications. So they have to read all of that and either say, yes, they pass them on for, interview or not. In addition, they've filled 850 jobs compared to last year, their regular workload of like 400. So it is more than doubled. So it is unsustainable to think that these 3 or 4 recruiters can continue at the mad pace that they're at. So I just wanted to give you a sense of that. Another one you see there is we've processed 1,900, so almost 2,000 unemployment claims. And what happens is we only have 2 weeks to turn these things around. Otherwise, we're assessed a state penalty. So there is a lot of work that's very timely. We've tracked over 6,000 employee vaccinations. We've had to put together 10,780 compensation transactions. That's so people are getting their pay increases. That's so people, when they're retroactives, that all that work is done. All the benefits and over 13,000 benefits enrollment changes annually, plus if people are getting married or divorced or have children, all of that work goes on behind the scenes. We've negotiated 30 agreements with our unions, which takes quite a bit of time. So I wanted to just quantify so you could visually see just the volume of work. This isn't even talking to the increase in scope that I mentioned, but this is just the current volume that we have to deal with. And we just don't have the resources to keep this up. I think my staff has made a valiant effort during the pandemic, has really worked together to keep this commission going under the worst of conditions. But right now we see that it is still continuing and it is proliferating in different ways. So I am humbly requesting for these additional resources so that we can serve the commission appropriately in what we've been tasked to do. I would like to at this point, and so I would ask you to take a look at some of these handouts. They're pretty easy reads. And we did that intentionally because I know that you're inundated with a lot of and voluminous information. But if I could hand this over to Katie Knappe to just quickly go over our request, I'd appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Back to the memo, if you would, on page 12. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Katie Knappe, Deputy Corporate Budget Director, and I'm going to cover the DHRM, risk management, support services, and merit board budgets. Pages 12 and 13 of the memo further outline DHRM's priorities for FY24, and the budget overview begins on the bottom half of page 13. The proposed base budget is a 9.5% increase. Oh, so if you could, scroll down a little to the bottom part of page 13. Thank you. The proposed base budget is a 9.5% increase of $644,000, and this is due to discretionary cost adjustments for inflation and further development of the programs described by Executive Director Chang-Smith. We have 7 critical needs, which increase the base budget by 12.8%, or $355,000 to Montgomery and $517,000 to Prince George's. Detailed descriptions of each request can be found on pages 13 and 14. These include 3 new recruiters, an HR specialist for the Employee and Labor Relations Office, and a supplier diversity specialist, each of which totals $120,000, which is $49,000 to Montgomery and $71,000 to Prince George's. We are also requesting an ADA coordinator for $133,000, or $54,000 to Montgomery and $79,000 to Prince George's. And finally, corporate management analyst for the performance metrics program, totaling $141,000, or $57,000 to Montgomery and $84,000 to Prince George's. As of the September Executive Committee meeting, the funding allocation is 40.7% to Montgomery and 59.3% to Prince George's, which is a 0.6% shift to Montgomery, resulting in a slight increase of the overall proportion of the budget to Montgomery. These amounts can be found in the chart on page 15. The next budget is the Risk Management Internal Service Fund budget on the same page. Full details of this budget will be presented to you in November. However, we wanted to highlight that we are requesting a new safety specialist and an occupational safety and health specialist, each totaling $124,000 or $62,000 to each county. These new positions have already been included in the overall risk management budget built into the proposed budgets of the 2 planning and parks departments, and these budgets are still projected to decrease even with these new requests. The next budget is CAS support services. The summary budget chart is on page 17. The FY24 proposed budget is a 9.4% increase of $142,000, and the main expense in this budget is rent paid to fund the executive office building operations. The space in EOB that previously housed the Prince George's Parks and Recreation, Information Technology, and Communications Division has been split between the CAS departments and the Health and Benefits Office, which that is charged to the Group Insurance Fund and will be covered in November, with the remaining space being converted into common area space for all tenants. The square footage for this common area space is spread across all tenants and built into the FY24 rent. So along with a 4% escalation, the total increase to this expense is 5.5%. And additionally, the CAS portion of risk management is projected to more than double to $48,000. As approved at the September Executive Committee meeting, the funding allocation is 44% to Montgomery and 56% to Prince George's, which is unchanged from last year, and these amounts can be found on the chart on page 17. The final budget is the Merit System Board, which is covered on page 18. The proposed budget remains relatively flat with a slight decrease, and this budget is split 50-50 between both counties, which ends up being a proposed cost of $84,000 to each. That concludes my overview, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Thanks to both of you. So again, we're going to have lots more conversations about this as we move forward, but at this point, are there any questions for Central Administrative Services?
I don't have any this is Commissioner Giraldo. I understand the problems that with human resources in this market, especially. So I don't have any problem with the increase. I think they've done a yeoman's job. I would like to know a little more what the recruitment efforts look. Where do they recruit? Who do they recruit? Et cetera.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about that. You know, we have police recruiting, which is very specialized, and we have heard from the departments that they want a recruiter especially dedicated to that, because that is probably one of the most difficult areas. And plus, they also have to do background checks, especially, and also they have to do testing. So that is a specialized type of recruiting. So one of the recruiter positions we've asked for would be to do specifically police recruiting. And then we were asking for one recruiter, an additional recruiter for Montgomery County, and one specifically for Prince George's County. We wanted to have that. They do recruiting for everything from, you know, your maintenance workers to your, you know, architects, to the planners, to, you know, accountants, to lawyers, all of it across the commission. Every single job we have in the commission, we do the recruiting for that. Plus the thing, because of the increased workload, we haven't had the bandwidth to do as much, but we are still doing it, are some of the job fairs, you know, their initiatives to recruit or find jobs for returning citizens, you know, after they have served their term in incarceration. We're looking at new Americans. We're also looking at some of the refugees that have been coming to Montgomery and Prince George's County. So recruiting efforts to bring those folks in and make sure everything is documented, the background checks are done. So there's also a lot of onboarding they have to do. There's so much more than just those basic numbers I just showed you that our recruiting staff is doing. And so that's just a little bit of flavor. I don't know, Commissioner Giraldo, if there was something specific you wanted to know about.
Nothing specific, but you did raise a good point. Specifically, I was looking for where specifically do you recruit? Do you go to the universities? Which universities? If it's positions that require a college education, which organizations do you go to, et cetera?
Yeah, so like for instance, that's a really good question. So for instance, like for planners, we'll go to the American Planning Association. You know, we'll go to the Urban League Institute. We'll go to the National Parks and Recreation Association for parks professionals. We also recruit locally to all the schools. Especially, we focus on the community colleges. I know that the day before Prince George's Community College's graduation, they had a big job fair, and we had a very big presence there. We're also working with the Job Corps team in Prince George's County. We've had a number of meetings with them to partner on a number of events. So we are rolling out. We are having our departments also participate with us on these events and job fairs. But like I said, we just don't have the resources. We don't have the personnel to be able to do that and to do the more than doubling of the job recruiting that we have to do. So it really is, that really is a sticking point, I think, for the whole commission, because right now we have probably over 400 positions open. So it is, and it's a constant thing. As we're filling the positions, other people are being recruited away from us, or people are just retiring. And so we are feeling that right now. And so it's not that our folks aren't doing a great job recruiting. It's just that they can't recruit faster than people are leaving, and they're leaving for various reasons. In fact, I just had a meeting yesterday evening with our colleagues in the Montgomery Parks and Planning about this. And that was what they explained to me, especially on the park side, is that people, they feel they're aging out because a lot of the jobs are physical, laborious jobs. and they just feel that, they just don't want to do it anymore. Their body just can't really do the job anymore. So they are retiring. So we really have to take a fresh approach to recruiting. And that's what we want to do with the additional positions coming in, to bring in, just some new energy to a lot of these positions that people are leaving.
Do you, does our office work with Employ Prince George's?
Very closely, yes.
Good.
In fact, I'm in touch with Walter, who's the director over there. So we have done a couple of events. We've actually had meetings with them and also the state labor department about working on a program to help returning citizens. And they are also sending, they're sending applications and people who are unemployed to us and to our website to say, hey, look at these jobs. We are sending them jobs to say, hey, these are hot jobs we really would like filled. We have an opportunity to offer bonuses. And so we can do that. And so we have a very, very good partnership with them.
Okay. Have you worked with Casa, Maryland?
Yes, we have. That's been a little bit more tricky on both the Montgomery and Prince George's side. And my understanding with that is because the dynamics there have changed, and actually the population that they work with right now has changed, but we have been working with them. I have to probably drill down a little bit more on how these changes have impacted. I think just anecdotally, Commissioner, is that a number of the people, the clients they're serving right now, are undocumented and don't have legal, I guess, work papers. And so we can't hire people without, any kind of legal papers to be able to work. So that's why it's been a little bit, I think, a little bit frustrating there.
Okay. All right. Thank you. You're doing a good job. I know it's a hard market right now. But
Yeah, it sure is. But thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to add, Mr. Chair, that I am delighted to see that you have proposing new additional recruiters, because one of the things that we do here is how long it takes. And when we look at these numbers, we can understand why it takes so long from the time someone applies for a position to the time they're offered a position. So I am delighted that we're looking at least bringing in a couple more people to help with that responsibility. It really does seem a little bit overwhelming when we look at the numbers, but hopefully this will make a difference in the turnaround time from applying to processing to offering someone a position. So thank you for the job that you're doing. I'm sure you're doing the absolute best you can with what you have now, but we have really got to do a little bit better. So let's see if we can get those other people on the team and shorten that length of time that it takes from applying to offering someone a position.
Thank you.
I would associate myself with the remarks of both of my colleagues, and I think you're hearing loud and clear that we think this is the right direction that you're going in.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your support.
Right. Okay, Mr. Kroll, back to you.
With that, the next department up is the Finance Department. That begins on page 19 of your packet. And I think we have Chip Bennett to represent that department.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Chip Bennett. I am the Corporate Financial Services Division Director, Department of Finance. And I'm presenting on behalf of Secretary Treasurer Cohen today. This is his first budget submission, and unfortunately, he is dealing with some family health issues and is unable to attend. However, he'll be, able to follow up on any specific questions when he returns.
Thank you. And be sure to let him know, if he may be listening, he may not be, but that we're very much wishing him well, him and his family, as he's going through some difficult times.
Yeah, thank you. So in developing the 24 budget request, the Finance Department's requesting an increase of $854,157 or 15% for 24, of which $480,982 is on the Prince George's County side, And that total includes 248,608, or a 4.4% increase in baseline, which is caused by annualizations of prior years' merit, COLA, reclassification increases, and benefit costs. And of that 248,608, 141,573 is on the Prince George's County side. We're also requesting an additional 605,549 of that total, or 10.7% for new position funding. Of that, $339,409 would be on the Prince George's County side. Finance is requesting a few position changes to support succession planning, to obtain skill sets currently unavailable, and start a rebuilding effort to raise the level of efficiency and effectiveness of the support finance provides throughout the organization. The department needs to modernize and transform its products, offerings, and services. The most critical request is for a new position for a Deputy Chief Financial Officer. This position, which would be a merit grade 40, would cost approximately $231,000 loaded to the salary and benefits, and will be filled from a converted frozen accounting tech 2 position. This hire will be key to modernizing the department's services and be ready to support several current positions that are retirement eligible through knowledge transfer and succession planning. And this increase is also will be temporary and offset by the elimination of a division director position, which this position will replace when the incumbent retires in the next fiscal year. Similarly, we would like to unfreeze and convert a part-time accounting tech position to a full-time department program manager, grade 32, with a salary and benefit cost anticipated at approximately $174,000. The department needs additional administrative support to better serve the needs of all divisions, and has been lacking this for a few years now. And these two positions will be within the Secretary Treasurer, the Finance Department's Corporate Business Services and Finance Administration Division, and will work to begin transforming and raising the service levels of the department to the Commission. Finally, in anticipation of an Executive Committee recommendation to do an RFP for potential replacement of the Commission's financial and HR systems, resources are requested to support this effort. Two positions are requested for this to be critical for successful implementation, whether or not we upgrade with the existing vendor or we have a new system altogether. And it's very important to have the staffing on board at the beginning. It's very difficult to bring people up when you're down the road in the implementation. Now, within the Finance Corporate Business Services section, which is the unit that supports the Commission's financial systems, we're requesting a corporate applications analyst, grade 24, an approximate cost of $121,800, and a senior corporate applications analyst at grade 28 at an estimated cost of $139,000. Note that these positions are also subject to a chargeback to the park funds and the recreation funds. Approximately $19,400 would be to charge back to Montgomery Parks, $25,600 to Prince George's County Parks, and $16,600 to the Prince George's County Recreation Fund. The description on the final page just goes over the numbers, and that's all I have to report. Questions?
Questions for Mr. Bennett?
I have none.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Much appreciated. No questions from you.
Next up is the legal department, found on page 22. And I think Deborah Borden will speak to that.
You are not on mute, Ms. Borden, but we can't hear you.